In this video, we're going to take a look at a green ink by KWZ Green number 5. As always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, it really does help the channel out for you to check out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the green ink playlist, so if you wanted to see more, you can find that there. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, no spread, great shading in the stub, in the extra fine. Even in the medium, it is nowhere near as stand out in the medium as it is in the extra fine, and even the stub shows it a bit better. Now, the extra fine is lighter than the stub, and the stub is only a hair lighter the extra fine's lighter than the medium, and the medium's only a hair lighter than the stub. Extra fine took 16 seconds to dry, while medium took 22. Now, the scrubbies don't really show the color variation, that shading that is showing off so well in the writing. And the smear test, I do not think you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Lamy All-Star with a broad nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, but we do get a bit of ghosting. Very thin paper, of course. No feather, no spread, no shading for the medium, no shading for the stub. Little bits of shading, very little, but they do show themselves a little in the extra fine. The extra fine's a lot lighter than the medium, which is the same tone as the stub. Extra fine took 23 seconds to dry and the medium 33. Scrubby for both give no color variation, which is wrong when it comes to the extra fine. And the smear test you could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. Now, it's moving all the way up, but at the bottom of where the ink is, you see a bunch of yellow. Then you get this very nice rich green and a very bright dark blue at the top. I don't believe we have a green dye here, so much as that old yellow and blue makes green. That is where the yellow that's down below and the blue above have mixed. We've got two dyes. The one on the right is allowed to dry for 10 minutes before it's put into water. And effectively, there's no difference between the two of them, meaning we expect zero resistance from this ink. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, no spread, great shading. It shows up fairly nicely in the stub. It is fantastic, stand out great in the extra fine. Look at all of these dark spots that just keep poking themselves out. And in the medium, we do get some, but it's more that it shows some lighter areas, like the Y in Fox, the Y in Lazy, the bottom of the F in Fox. So it's definitely there, nowhere is stand out. The extra fine being the lightest tone on the page, medium and stub being the same tone. Extra fine took 18 seconds to dry, while the medium took 25. The scrubby for the extra fine shows some color variation. We definitely get a lot of it. The medium shows none, and it's much harder to spot there. Now, smear test you could probably recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink could be expected to perform on a page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it performs basically well. I can see everything that's there, and where some of the ink is moved on the edge of it is from the swatch where it was on much heavier, so more likely to move. I think you could use it safely in that note-taking environment. Water is reactivating, lifting most of this ink off the page. It's all that it took to get it out of my pen, and that's why. Pen flush does everything that water does and nothing more, and the 1/3 bleach solution destroys it, but you're not gonna need it. The next writing sample is done on yellow Rhodia paper. This is done to look at tone change more than performance, just out of some curiosity. And not that I think people are writing with green ink in that professional environment, but what we do see is it is lightening the green. I think there's a very nice green on the white paper, but I think it's better on the yellow. It's a bit brighter, a green in the medium, and a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter with the extra fine. Looks great. Still lighter in the stub. Nice to know what it's going to do. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. KWZ's green number 5 has a viscosity of 2, meaning it's a little bit wetter than normal. The next writing sample is done on life paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. No feather, no spread. Shading does come through in the stub. Definitely comes through very well in the extra fine. Not a ton of it, but there's a couple lighter spots that do show themselves in the medium, but it's not really very good in the medium here. Now the extra fine's much lighter than the extra fine's much lighter a tone than the medium, which is about the same tone as the stub. Extra fine took 15 seconds to dry, while medium took 20. Scrubby of the extra fine shows some color variation, better in the writing. Medium shows none, but we got none. And the smear test, you do stand a chance of recovery if you smear while you're writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. KWZ's green number 5 has an average dry time of 23 seconds, so you need a little bit of patience here as it takes a little bit longer than normal to dry. The last writing sample is done on Levenger paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, no spread, nice shading in the stub, great shading in the extra fine, almost no shading in the medium. Now the extra fine's by far the lightest tone on the page. Medium is by far the darkest tone. In fact, the stub is just a little bit lighter than the medium is. The extra fine took 10 seconds to dry and the medium 14. The scrubby of the extra fine shows some color variation left to right. The medium shows none. And while there is spots of lighter in the medium, I think what happens in a scrubby for the extra fine reflects what's going on in the extra fine writing. Smear test says you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like KWZ's green number 5, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I decided to go with a purple ink by Monteverde, their Amethyst. If you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description is links to those playlists. So what do I think of KWZ's green number 5? This might be the best green in the KWZ line. The shading looks great and really brings your writing to life. I love this one. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? If you really want all of that darker tone, I would say go with a very wet pen, regardless of the nib size. But if you want to lighten it up and really get that great shading that this ink has, then a much drier pen. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video, we're going to take a look at Private Reserve's Shell Pink.